I'm going to tell you guys the same thing I tell my wife when there's jobs to be done around the house. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. You don't need to remind me every 6 months about it. And with that in mind, here's my thoughts on the Garmin Descent Mk2 as a technical diving computer. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Divers Ready. My name's James. It is so great to see all of your smiling faces. I hope you're all doing really well. If you're new to our channel, well, this is going to be a bit of a weird first video to start on because it's incredibly niche. But you're here now, so make your next dive on our subscribe button and hit that little bell icon because it helps us out to keep making these videos with one simple goal in mind: to help make you a better, more well-informed diver. I promised this video for a long time. It's finally here. We're doing the Garmin Descent Mk2 update. Now, this isn't going to change, nothing in the information in this video is going to change anything I said in the full review video, and if you haven't seen that video, I'll link it up above there. What we're specifically going to look at is my thoughts on this computer as a technical diving instrument. Now, yes, I've been out of the water for the last 2 months with my ear issue, but January was very tech heavy for me. I got a lot of tech dives in, I got this thing past the no decompression limit, and I have a pretty good idea of my thoughts and feelings about the Garmin Descent Mk2 as a technical diving computer. So everything in that video still stands. This is supplementary information. If you're looking to buy your first technical diving computer, is this right for you? If you're looking to add a backup or a secondary or new or switch from a different brand, all the information here is going to help the tech divers out there. We'll go through my observations first, and then at the end of this video, I'll tell you whether or not I would buy the Garmin Descent Mk2 as a technical diving computer. But first, my thoughts. Let's start with the fact that on the first technical dive I did with Garmin, I went through, I programmed my gases, I programmed my gradient factors, all that good stuff, got the computer set up, and then as soon as I entered the water and got to depth, I realized I made a massive boo-boo. TTS, time to surface. This is a tool I use extensively when planning dives. It's also a tool I use during a dive execution-wise to make sure that I'm staying on track, on schedule, on my decompression plan. It's a standard piece of information given to you on all the Perdixes and Terrics and Petrols and all that good stuff from Shearwater. So I presumed, wrongly it turns out, that it would be there on display on the Garmin. It isn't. It is in the menu options, but you have to actually go through and select it and turn it on manually. And I didn't on the first tech dive. So I'm like trying to find the TTS on here and it wasn't displaying, and I had to scroll through and so on. So I had to move it to the front screen so I had it front and center. For me, it's okay, it's not as important as partial pressure of oxygen, but it's right up there. I like to know my TTS. All right, so the next thing we should talk about is the display. Probably the hottest topic in any internet chat room where they're discussing Descent versus Terric. And of course, the Shearwater Terric kicks ass in this regard. It's like an OLED television. It's bright, colorful, really sharp, whereas the Garmin, even on its highest brightness setting, just can't keep up with that. In fact, I have a friend who's an instructor trainer, a tech instructor trainer I should say, who told me that they take off their Garmin Descent and put their Terric on when they go for a tech dive or when they're doing an overhead environment. So that should tell you something. They wear the Garmin as their everyday watch and then take it off to go tech diving. Not brilliant, but of course the trade-off is Garmin's superior battery life. I can do 4 days of 2 tech dives a day and I'll be at like 20% battery left, whereas the Terric you'd need to charge it every single night. So which is more important to you? I do have to say the algorithm on the Garmin Descent Mk2 is Bowman ZHL, 16 compartments, identical to the Shearwater, and when I programmed the same gases and the same gradient factors, it gave me exactly the same decompression planning, same contingency profiles to the minute. I could not separate them at all. One area that I could separate them though was last stop. Now, as a South Florida open water ocean tech diver, I personally prefer my last stop to be 6 meters or 20 feet for 2 reasons. Number one, we have very swelly, changeable conditions, and it's much easier to hold a stop 20 feet below the rough surface than it is 10 feet below the surface. And number two, I don't trust any Florida boaters, none whatsoever. Every time I'm out in the ocean, I see absolutely horrific infringements of maritime safety laws, and I don't trust any of you guys. None. No, absolutely not. You're all maniacs, And naively, perhaps, I believe that I have a better chance of surviving being ran over at 6 meters, 20 feet, than I do at 3 meters or 10 feet. So that's what it is. I prefer 6 meters to be my last stop depth. Now, on the shearwater, that's not a problem. I can turn off the 3 meter stop and it'll just recalculate and make my last stop 6 meters. On Garmin, you can't do that. It's 3 meters. So what do? Well, I just stay at 6 meters until this clears. Pretty simple, really. Job done. Not a big deal. And maybe it cost me 45 seconds, a minute, somewhere down the line. Again, not a big issue. Next thing we need to talk about when discussing the tech features on the Descent Mk2 are the OTUs. Now, OTUs, quick refresher for you, oxygen tolerance units. That's the equivalent of breathing 100% pure oxygen at 1 atmosphere for 1 minute. That's 1 OTU. And most of the training agencies out there, the major ones at least, agree that a daily acceptable limit is 350 OTUs. Garmin, for some reason, has decided that the limit is 312.5. And I know this because you get an alert if you get to 250 OTUs, which they claim is 80% of the limit. So if we extrapolate that out, 250 divided by 4 times 5 gives you 312.5 OTUs. Really not a big deal, but just a point I wanted to bring up to show that I know maths. That's about it. No, seriously guys, you're really not going to be hitting those limits unless you're doing some really extreme profiles with some really long hangs on, a lot of pure oxygen and multiple days of technical diving. Of course, we know this, but it's just interesting that they've kind of taken that approach of more conservative than even the training agencies recommend, which by their standards would be conservative because liability. The second thing you need to consider about OTUs when you get to the Garmin Descent Mk2 is the fact that they expire every 24 hours, which means if you're doing multiple days of technical diving and you want to track your exposure across, let's say, a trip to Truk Lagoon, it would behoove oneself to make sure that you are downloading your dive log to your phone every single night so that you can track your OTU exposure across multiple days. Again, not a big deal, just something to think about if you're at the more extreme end of technical diving. Overall, I've been really enjoying using the Garmin Descent Mk2 as a technical diving computer. It's my daily wear watch that I can now take on technical dives with me. The screen is highly programmable. I don't have a problem with the brightness of the display. Gas switch execution is easy. I've got all the information I need and nothing I don't, as long as you're willing to spend the time going through the menus and personalizing the display as you want it to look. No worries at all. Would I recommend it for someone looking to buy their first technical diving computer, or would I recommend it to you if you're looking to add a second technical diving computer to your setup? Well, the answer to that question is yes, no, and no. Yes, absolutely, as long as you're going to get functionality out of the million other things that the Garmin Descent Mk2 can do. Now, I know probably about 6 or 7 technical dive instructors just here in South Florida who switched from the Terric to the Mark 1 when the Mark 1 came out and have not looked back, and I'm very happy with that trade. So that should already tell you something as well. Mark 2 is a big step forward from the Mark 1. So absolutely it's worthwhile as long as you're gonna get use out of its other functions. If you're only gonna use it as a technical dive computer, then my answer would be no. Get yourself a shearwater Perdix, save $500, buy other gear with it. Pretty straightforward. Also, if you do have crappy eyesight and you really need that data, the display is a big part of a technical dive computer. So if you have, less than 20/20 vision, you're probably better off going with the Terric or again a Perdix, just for the sake of having a brighter screen. Let me know in the comments below, guys, if you're a tech diver already or you're thinking about getting into technical diving, what computer do you have or are you leaning towards? As always, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this was your Monday video for this week from Divers Ready. My name's James. Dive safe, dive often.